Well, in the interest of those that showed up on time, I will take care of it till Diane comes. So I'm going to call the meeting together.
I got some notes, but I was late. So
We have a new member to the Technology Policy Committee. Two of our three Technology Policy Committee members, John Overley, who has been a longtime member of this committee, and Charlie Coons, who came on later but acted as co-chair, have both completed their three-year terms on the SELCO board, so we did them due in July. And we have John Piper, who some of you will remember was here by virtue of interest and being the new Otana board rep. So knowing that the Judy Shavko was going to be doing board appointments, committee appointments next week, which didn't work for this meeting. So she and John worked a deal, and John is duly appointed to the Technology Policy Committee. So welcome, John. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and why you actually would feel comfortable on this committee?
well, it goes back decades. I got involved with the internet many years ago when I thought it might amount to something. And then I got involved with the city of Otana. I was a technology coordinator for about 13 years. And then 2 years ago I retired. And of course I've gone through Grand Benoit and Mary Kay a little bit. And SELCO libraries have always been a weak spot in my heart, I guess.
Okay. Or a warm spot.
A warm spot.
No, I was just checking that right then.
Okay. And also here today, we have another SELCO board member, Mary Jane Holland. Welcome as a guest. Do you want to sort of give your background? And
I am on the SELCO board now, but previous to that, I was an employee at Buckham Library in Faribault for 16 years and have worked in libraries variously throughout my life. And I'm here at the direction of my board.
so that you know, and John knows everybody that's here, do you want to, we'll do introductions. We'll start with Ann.
Sure, I'm Ann Fultonson. I'm the director at Boston Public Library, and I am a large public library representative. And I'm trying to remember if this is like my fourth or fifth. I've lost track. It's my favorite committee ever.
I don't know about that, Ann. They're up to down. Okay. You got to top that one, Michael. He's so sick to me.
Right. I'm Michael Scott. I'm the assistant director here at SELCO, and I have two distinctions. This is the second time around that I'm working for SELCO, and I still hold the title of the longest title of an employee ever at SELCO.
His first time around.
My first time around.
Brad Haugen. I work at Lure across the street now. Which is nice. I don't know, my second term. I don't know,
Right.
like 2 years or 3 years. I've been here a few years, I guess.
Donovan?
Donovan Lambright, SELCO Automation Librarian.
Ann Hutton, SELCO and Sales Executive Director.
Tyler Irvin, Technology Support Librarian here at SELCO. This committee falls under my care for like notes and sending out agendas and all that.
John, we've introduced. Mary Kay?
Mary Kay Belfus, director of the Owatonna Public Library and alternate large public library representative. Peggy Gaynor, the director of the Albert Lee Public Library and a large public library representative. Wow. And I have no idea how many terms. Second term?
Oh, I think so. It's on the website. And the website and the website is up to date and correct. I checked it the other day when I took off. When I took off Charlie's name.
Peggy's in her second term.
Okay.
As is Ann.
And we can just serve too?
We follow the bylaws, and state law, so up to three-year terms, and I do a call for nominations the latter part of October for anyone whose term is ending. So we do a nomination period, a election period, and new people start in January. Let's not skip past.
I think that's okay. That's the question.
Pat Johnson, Stewartsville Public Library. I'm the director there, and I'm the alternate for the medium-sized library.
And a voting member today because we are missing James Hill, but I think Sherry is on her way because we saw Sherry on Tuesday.
Sure, she's a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Approval of the agenda. Agenda was posted to the SELCO website. Are there additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll just declare that it's approved as distributed. Standing business. So we've got input from the online elected library representatives. Anything from those of you? Yes.
Oh, I talked to Michael about this about a month ago. I received a request via email from a public library in Kodiak, Alaska.
Okay.
And they had seen on the OCLC Worldwide catalog that we had a particular, we've kept some of our audio cassette books, and we still have and some engagements, and they wanted a particular part of that and asked if we would be interested in loaning it to them. And I emailed back and said yes, and give us the information. And so she told me what I needed to do, and she took care of it on her end as far as the OCLC forms and things that needed to be taken care of, and the patron paid for the postage. And it went to Alaska, and about a week ago it came back. And
wow.
They were very happy, and everything went very, very smoothly. So it was a good experience.
Well, and the reason that, for those of you sort of thinking, why Kodiak, Alaska, Stewartsville Public Library was among the first tier, actually a beta testers for our OCLC reclamation project. So all of the Stewartsville holdings are in OCLC, and one's in OCLC. While we're not officially, any of our libraries are not officially interlibrary loan lending partners, obviously it's visible. So a phone call or an email to say, will you lend?
Well, we thought it was interesting. We looked to see where's Kodiak, Alaska, and it's actually out on an island. And I just thought it was really, here they're way up there and looking through, and they see this small library still has something like that. The audio cassette books, because there aren't a lot, and we have kept ours. Not all of them, but we've kept some classics.
And there are parts of Alaska that have had more days over 80 degrees than we have had in Minnesota this year. Heard that on NPR the other morning. Okay. Anything else from the elected representatives? Okay, Donovan, you're on with the technology report. Good.
There's always a PC purchase, or technology purchase, I should say. The summer one, the equipment has come in, and we are in the process of carrying out deployments. This time around, 9 online libraries purchased 14 computers and a lot of related equipment. I have the OCLC reclamation on here with a notation that it's going to be on the agenda, and it's not, actually. Sometimes in my mind, I have a tendency to link RDA and the OCLC reclamation together because they're going on at the same time, and Cheryl's working on both. So I got a little sloppy there, and I apologize. The enterprise implementation is on here, but I won't say much about that since Tyler does have an agenda item for it a little later on today. The migration to our storage area network is complete. The new device is up and running. All data is over there. All virtual servers are running. Everything is hunky-dory. We have not turned off the old SAN yet, but we probably will in the next week or so. We've been up for a number of weeks now, and so we're getting to the point where we're about ready to shut the old one down. And then we're still deciding exactly what to do with that. We're working with Amy Lake, SELCO Finance Manager, on that. We will probably attempt to sell it. We're all feeling slight ethical pangs in our consciousness as we do, that, since the thing caused us so much trouble. But we should be able to get some money for it on the open market, so we'll get something for our troubles. We are in the process of upgrading our firewall. That was the reason for the systems maintenance that we did Saturday night last weekend. And we almost got it, but not quite. The new device went in just fine. Everything worked perfectly. The next morning, though, we had a problem with restricted packs. Albert Lee was sort of our test case for that Sunday morning. Everything worked fine except for that. We spent a few hours on Sunday afternoon trying to figure out what was going on. And when we couldn't figure it out, we finally just plugged the old firewall back in. So we are working with the vendor on that, trying to figure out why the restricted packs didn't work, and then we will plug the new one back in on another evening. So we're close on that one, but not quite. And the last item on the project list is the development of the new SELCO website. And this is the first time I've brought this up for this group. We've been kind of kicking this around for a number of months now, based on the usability testing that we've been doing for the last year or so. We are developing a new WordPress site to replace the site we have at www.selco.info. So we are in the process of developing the structure right now. We had a meeting yesterday where I think we got the first draft of that pretty well hammered into place. Terry and I are migrating content over, and we're going to start messing around with the look and feel next. We don't have a launch date for that yet, but I'm hoping late fall or winter at the latest to bring that site up. That is everything I have on my list. I'll be happy to take any questions or talk about anything else.
Donovan mentioned the usability study. We have found that we know that there have been problems for forever. And with the usability test, we've been able to find some specific problems. And interestingly, we have gone back to some of the first usability tests that we did and redone them with different people. And because we made changes in pull-down menus and formatting and where we put stuff, and we deleted some stuff that was confusing, and we found that people are actually finding things more easily. I still think it's a complicated website, and with the changes that we're making in structure, I think it'll be even more simple, but we will be doing additional usability tests on the new site as well, knowing that just because it makes sense in Anne Springs, might not necessarily make sense in everybody else. So for those of you who have either done the usability test or have had your staff members participate, I thank you, because I think the people who have helped us, who have provided us with input, really have helped us. And we're continuing to move it along.
Okay. Next we have, it says an RDA update, but it's actually a more general one, as not much has really happened with RDA since May. This is that last 3 weeks in particular, since Cheryl's not out of the country. Hardly anything's gone on with it. But I do have a general summary that I was able to get from our catalogers. Since May, they have completed all the inventories for Group 1 and have almost all the inventories for Group 2 scheduled for September and early October. Most of the libraries in Group 1, including Blooming Prairie, Harmony, Lake City Schools, Lanesboro, Pine Island, and West Concord, have been reclaimed by OCLC, and the catalogers are working through their unresolved files. The percentage of collection that is coming back unresolved has dropped to about 3% of the collection rather than 5%, which is a great improvement. This means that the records in Horizon are becoming better and clearer, and the cleanup work from the libraries that have been reclaimed already is improving the match rate for the records. Speaking of weeding and cleanup, since May 16th, they have deleted over 28,000 withdrawn items and 6,800 bits from the system. It also shows that all the hard work put into weeding and collection cleanup is improving the database and improving the experience for the patrons.
Questions about OCLC reclamation? Anybody who's been through it want to comment? For us, it was great.
It went very well.
It did, and considering when we did it, because you were the first,
I think we were.
yeah, and I think we were the first large. Yep. And I love to weed, so it went really well.
And the thing that once we got the first round and everything was uploaded, we have continued this, and we continually weed our library all the time, every so many months for each of these collections, and that helps a lot. But now it's not as overwhelming as the first time you do it. And we've also slimmed down the collection codes a lot.
Ooh, that's good to hear. One of the things that's been fun about this is that there was a small library that was having some political difficulties in the community. And the fact that we could lay out a plan for what had happened in some of your libraries, as well as a plan for how all of the libraries were going to have this process, go through this process. It ended up putting the mayor, diffused a tense situation between the mayor, the librarian, and the library board. So the mayor had ideas about how the library should be run. And this was, we were able to talk about the fact that from a bigger point of view, and this particular community, the mayor can be somewhat domineering. So it's amazing how this process has helped in ways other than cleaning up the collection. So. And we've always done continuous cleaning. Right. I mean, I've always been very tight.
I think when we started the whole process, we talked to our library board because we wanted to be closed for 2.5 days to do this, so we didn't have to worry about people coming in all the time. And the library board said yes, they thought that was an excellent idea. And then we did a period of time where we let the patrons know we were going to be closed these days, why we were going to be closed, and what was going to happen. And it was very successful. And people would say, yes, we understand why you can't have us in there while you're doing this project. And I think it went a lot faster.
It did, because we stayed open. So we did it by collections where we didn't check out. And I think, depending upon the size of the library, Zumbrota did it on a weekend where they brought in as many PCs as they could possibly round up, and they had 14 or 15 or 17 people, so they just sort of did it en masse. But then, of course, the Zumbrota library is smaller than the other. Well, we had to redo children, and then we cleaned up a lot of the children's codes because we'd gotten to the point where we were just way too specific. And so that worked out really well. It's nice to be able to do that blanket change. Okay.
Oh, and just as a reminder that even if you aren't, if you're already through the reclaiming process and you still want to weed and need a place to get rid of those materials, please send them our way. We just had a pickup, I believe it was last week. I don't remember how many boxes, but it was a lot. And I think just about the time that they got them out, there were more in. So it never really ends. So again, and also the reminder that if you happen to have a large stash, and I think the threshold is sort of like about 30 boxes, and don't want to send them here, we can work with the company and they can make a stop and pick them up as well. And they're very, very good and they're very efficient. A bottle of water is an amazing reward for them. So.
And we give our bookstore friends, and then our serve comes and cleans up.
Oh, perfect. Good. Yep.
It works out well for us.
So, yeah.
Recycle everything.
Right. And if you need another alternative to.
And we have used them, and they were great.
Good. Okay. That's all. That was my little commercial.
Excellent. So we're on a roll with Tyler.
Okay.
2 more items.
Enterprise implementation. Well, since we all know that item-specific requesting is a major issue when it comes to enterprise, not much has been going on with it over this summer since we were holding off until we have the ability to provide item-specific requests to our patrons. This is the big thing that Certionics has promised will be in the fall upgrade for the product. So we've been doing a little bit of back-end work, getting facets working and creating search limits, a few more profiles, not many yet. Main reason for that is the fact that we just upgraded our enterprise to the current version, which came out, I think, about a month ago. 4.3. We upgraded it on Friday. The one upside of the catalog not being live is the fact that I don't have to worry about it going down for patrons. So at least there's that. We have that all set and ready to go. Had to do a little update to web services, but turned out fine. The ERC, the Electronic Resource Center, which is the big project that will be tying in the ebook collection into the catalog in a better way than putting in our MARC records right now and marking them 0 and Cheryl doing all sorts of fancy scripts to get it to run. That has reached public release at this point. We have contacted Seriously Dynamics and have a project manager assigned to us to get it out there. We currently have initial setup for background stuff next Thursday, and then we actually got an appointment to get the whole ERC set up Thursday following that. So we'll have that up before Labor Day for us to play around with, which is good because honestly the way they were talking when it initially came out, it sounded like the line was ridiculously long and we'd be waiting until like mid-fall. But I'm very pleased to say that we'll have that in the summer, even if the catalog isn't live yet. SELCO staff will be taking training on this the second week of September so that we know what we're supposed to be doing with the ERC on the back end. We have, is related to it, not technically enterprise, but the Technology Users Group meeting has been postponed at this point. We are hoping to start the testing process for the usability testing of enterprise following or starting at the Technology Users Group meeting. So we're going to hold off a little bit on that until we have enterprise up and ready to go.
Tyler, can I just make sure I understood? So we're working as hard as we can on getting enterprise as ready as we can for when item request specific codes can be played.
As much as we can do without that update.
And all of that is happening behind the scenes, and we don't see any of it. And then as soon as that's just to help speed up the delay.
Well, if you're using a link, you'll go and you can still see it. But for the most part, it's just me and Cheryl playing around with smart maps and facets and displays.
And I mean, are they halfway there? Item request.
I can speak to that. I spoke with Seriously Dynamics a couple of days ago, and it is in testing right now. They've rolled it out at a few testing libraries, and so far so good, but they're not done testing yet. The person I spoke to was optimistic that it was going to be in the fall release, but until they actually get completely through with the testing, you can't really rely on that too much. They do not have a date set for the fall release yet. I would assume that since they're testing this, they're probably testing other elements of that upgrade. And so when they get all that worked out, they'll announce a release date. So fall is still as specific as we can get. When we selected the catalog, we were told that this feature was not there, but that it would be there by August.
No. I'm sorry, that is not the case. Cheryl went back and looked in her notes, and her specific notes say that she asked and was answered in the positive.
Well, that's true. And then when we asked them about that, they said, yes, it'll be there by the time you go live in August.
Actually, we met with Seriously Dynamics last October to talk about enterprise. We noted that there was not item-specific questioning at that point. Cheryl's notes specifically say that we asked them about it, and they said it would be ready by November, the next month.
Right.
That's November.
I know that.
Right. And our concern was, will it be up in August 2013 when we go live?
I can't believe we're the only library that wanted this. No. In fact, I'm going to jump in with some notes about that.
So it was scheduled to be released in the spring update, and at the last minute they pulled that particular piece of functionality because they ran into some problem with the testing. Apparently it didn't work correctly in all circumstances. And then they said, well, it'll be the fall upgrade instead. Unfortunately, that's a few months too late for us to make our August date.
So we're going to hold off now because the schools are in session until they run their lab?
Well, right now we're holding off until the functionality is there. And it's probably going to be a moot point because I would be very surprised if this came out in September. All we know at this point is it'll be sometime in the fall. Could be September, but it could equally be November. And so right now we're just kind of in an indefinite holding pattern. And we said all along that when we were ready to go, we would inaugurate a 3-month testing period where you and your staff would be able to look at it, use it, make comments. We would conduct usability testing with library staff and with patrons. And we're still going to do that 3-month period. So from the time they're ready to go,
Or we're ready to go with that.
yeah, tack 3 months onto that at least for us to go through that process. And that process will get kicked off at the next users group meeting that Tyler alluded to. We probably could have slapped another users group together with other stuff. We always have things to talk about. But to make you come here in September and then have you come back again in October or November seemed kind of silly.
Yeah. Enterprise, is this actually a full version thing, or is this like 4.4? Or are they just throwing out the numbers? What are they calling it?
For this
Enterprise.
item specific,
Yeah, well, the whole upgrade that you're waiting for.
It's a whole
upgrade.
So it's like a version 5, but they're not calling it 5.
no, it's an incremental update.
It's a whole new version of the catalog,
So it's not a 4.4. We're not talking one little number. We're talking in the old days you threw out one and it came out with
It's
5.
an incremental upgrade for Enterprise.
It's a patch.
Probably more than a patch.
It's the page.
I would say it's more than a patch.
Yeah.
It's not a full new version. It's an incremental upgrade. So it's more of a dot something number,
Good.
.4, .5, something like that.
I think it was 4.4.
Yeah. So we just did an enterprise upgrade. There's another one coming that will supposedly include this. See if it works.
So where I was going to jump in is, are anybody else having the same issue, Peggy? Yes, because Viking Library System is also on Horizon and didn't go to Aqua Browser. They're still in HIP, and they've committed to Enterprise. And when I asked, do they use item-specific requests, the answer was yes. And they were simply, so then of course I said, it doesn't work right now. And so they did the checking, but they were not planning to go live with Enterprise until November or January. So it was supposed this year, not last year. And so they are being told that it will definitely be available for them, which is why it wasn't an issue in their demo. It's the same thing that we were told. So it is now on their radar as well that they'll go with their implementation date if item-specific request is available, and if not, they are planning to hold as well. Because as a federated library system, they want item-specific requests for their member libraries.
So we're kind of in a holding pattern at this point. We are using the time to continue to work on the catalog and polish other things so that when the upgrade does come out, we won't have to waste any time doing all that other stuff. We would be able to just go right into the testing period. That's our goal. But I don't know when this is going to happen this fall, assuming that it does. They've missed one release already on this, so hopefully they'll make this one, but can't promise. Yep.
And then am I in the right place then with the whole rooms and all of that? Are we going to have like a rooms expert or? I'm looking at it.
The plan right now is to have a selection of rooms available for libraries to pick from when we go into that 3-month testing period.
Okay.
We're not trying to implement any of the more ambitious ideas that have been talked about where we would start creating lots of different rooms and solicit the libraries to help us out with that. We are still very interested in that, but we're not going to try and do that before we launch.
So it's not going to be able to replace our website yet?
Not yet, probably.
The Aqua Browser's gone on this upgrade?
It will be gone, yeah. Okay. And there's a whole other story about Aqua Browser. I just got contacted by them a couple weeks ago asking if we would help them test their next generation version. And I told them I wish you had talked to us a year ago. It was just too little too late. So that was unfortunate.
So fee-wise, SELCO's okay with the continuation for 6 more months without any complications with Aqua Browser saying you owe us more money? Good.
We're fine.
The Aqua Browser contract allows us to bail out with 30 days notice. So we'll be just fine. The only other thing I would point out is Tyler talked a little bit about ERC, the functionality that integrates ebooks into the catalog. I wish we had been able to meet the August launch, but the silver lining on that cloud was that we would have been launching a month before ERC was available. At least now we can roll the thing out with that functionality baked in. So it'll be part of our usability testing. It'll be part of any training and support materials that we're putting out there and all that. So that's a positive thing. I don't know if it fully justifies holding off, but it's a silver lining.
Other questions about enterprise? We'll keep you posted.